Hi everyone, let's simplify some fractions. Sometimes when working with fractions, you'll need to simplify them or write them in simplest form or put your answer in lowest terms. If you watched my video on equivalent fractions, then you know we can make fractions look bigger or smaller. If we're simplifying, we're going to make them look smaller by finding an equivalent fraction that looks simpler. To do that, we're going to divide by a form of 1. If we divide by a form of 1, we'll get an equivalent fraction that looks smaller. For example, if you need to simplify the fraction 4/8, that means you're going to find an equivalent fraction that looks smaller. So you need to divide by a form of 1. You need to find a number that would divide out of 4 and 8, and that's what we're going to divide by. So we can use 4. So we can divide by 4 over 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 1/2 is a simpler but equal way of saying 4/8. We could have divided by some other number that divides out of 4 and 8, but we want to use the largest number that divides out of both because that gets us in simplest form in one step instead of taking more than one. For instance, let's say we didn't know 4 divided out of 4 and 8, so we used 2 instead. So 4/8 divided by 2 over 2 would give us 2/4. Well, that's not simplest form yet. It's simpler, but it can get even smaller, so we can simplify it again to get to 1/2. So we still got to the simplified answer, but dividing by a smaller number took us more steps. If you want to get simplified in one step, use the largest number that you can to divide by. If you can't find that number, then use any number that divides out of both the numerator and the denominator. And you'll get there eventually. It'll just take you a little longer. The largest number that divides out of the numerator and denominator is called the GCF, the greatest common factor. Let's practice finding it. What is the greatest common factor, or the largest number that divides out of 3 and 9? It's 3. 3 is the largest number that divides out of 3 and 9. How about 6/8? What's the largest number that divides out of both 6 and 8? It's 2. You might have been hoping for a bigger one, but 2 is the biggest number that divides out of 6 and 8. Let's try one more. What's the GCF, or the largest number that divides out of 8 and 12? You guessed it, it's 4. 4 is the largest number that divides out of 8 and 12. Now that you're so good at knowing what number we can divide by, let's practice actually simplifying. How about simplifying 4/6? What's the largest number that divides out of both 4 and 6? Did you say 2? That works. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 2/3 is a simpler but equal way of saying 4/6. How about 5/15? What number would you use to simplify this one? 5 over 5? You got it. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 5/15 and 1/3 are equivalent fractions, but 1/3 is simpler. Now let's say you had to add this problem, 2/12 plus 4/12. Well, you know that's 6/12, but that's not in lowest terms. What would it be if you simplified 6/12? What's the simplest way to say 6/12? You can divide them both by 6. That'll give you 1/2. Well done! One more. How about 3/4? What's that in simplest form? I'm just kidding. It's already in simplest form. There is no number that divides out of 3 and 4. Sometimes it's already in simplest form. That's all for today. Have a good one. See you next time.